all them Palestinian terrorists. That's why they pay Palestinian.
Tobi! Ja, die morgen.
The kids, man.
Ja, opnemen die Fenner, ja, opnemen die Fenner.
En opnemen Fenner of die ganze Meister?
Ja.
He's laughing.
Die Fenner.
I was gonna say it's not like a public place, like but it is a public place. Like, but what if that's your house? What if that's like your municipal what if that's your building? How are they gonna tell you what you could put on your building? Gee.
All them Palestinian terrorists. That's why they pay Palestinian.
Remember, this is November of last, so this is a month.
ראית מה הוא עשה פה לפני זה לילד? הוא כן וואי, הוא מגיע עם התיק מהחיידר, אה?
May Allah preserve these children, bro. Oh, the strength in his heart. This dude got some long hair. That's a dude, right? These are all dudes.
Hallo.
He said, "Get out of my way." Oh, he pushed him. This is 10 years old.
אסור ללכת לצבא גם אם הוא כן לומד או לא לומד. אפילו אם זה נחל חרדי, כאילו מיועד לחרדים. It's a whole different army. When you come in Orthodox, it's with a different head. Coming to serve God.
20% of young men lose their religious identity while in the army. That's not a percentage which the Haredi world would be willing to tolerate.
We're in Jerusalem, and recently these streets have been the scene of violent protest and riots, but there hasn't been a Palestinian in sight. Instead, it's the Orthodox Jewish community who are furious with the army.
Vice News. What's his name? Just sit down with I always forget his name. Shane Smith. There you go. Dude, Vice. Ooh, it's still here.
Do you believe that you?
Vice was like the alternative media back then, or like the I don't know how to explain it.
For trying to send their sons to war.
In March of 2014, the Israeli government passed a law requiring the ultra-Orthodox, a community of mostly religious and conservative Jews known as the Haredim, to serve in the Israel Defense Forces. Previously, Haredi boys who studied in religious seminaries or yeshivas were exempt from Israel's universal conscription law, which requires all citizens from the age of 18 to serve in the army for 2 to 3 years. The decision drew fierce opposition from the ultra-Orthodox community, its leaders ordering that no one should comply.
I guarantee you it's not going to happen. No yeshiva student will serve in the army by coercion. He'll leave the country, he'll go into hiding, he'll go into the underground.
Right, because they can voluntarily do it if they want to, but they can't be forced. Like, say coerced. Coerced. Like a hearse, but you coexisted. Coexistence.
We'll go into jail.
We saw this sentiment echoed throughout the Haredi neighborhoods as anti-IDF posters were put up.
The poster is showing how the Israeli government is forcing the religious Jews to go to the army, but the army's values are not that of the yeshivot. There are many
put up.
The poster is showing how the Israeli government is forcing the religious Jews to go to the army, but the army's values are not that of the yeshivot. There are many things in the army that go on that are, for a religious Jew, not permitted. And that's what you're seeing in this picture, that the religious Jew feels like he's being pulled into the garbage, being what goes on in the army is like garbage to us.
The ultra-Orthodox have always sheltered themselves from the influence of the secular world, including the military. This goes back to the very beginning of the State of Israel, when David Ben-Gurion struck a deal with the Haredi community, allowing yeshiva students to forego military service as long as they remained in the yeshivas, protecting and preserving the Jewish religion. The exemption has never been popular with the secular community, and through the years, there have been attempts to try and find a compromise, including a deal struck with the IDF and a group of Haredi rabbis that created the Netzah Yehuda, an ultra-Orthodox battalion made up of volunteer soldiers. But as the Haredi population grows at an exponential rate, what started as a privilege granted to less than 400 Haredi boys has become a loophole for nearly 60,000. The Haredi community's weak presence in the army and in the workforce has prompted criticism from mainstream Israelis, who see the community as a financial burden to the country as a whole. Vice News went to Mea Sharim, one of the oldest Haredi neighborhoods in Jerusalem, and the site of many anti-military protests. We ran into trouble almost immediately. The Haredim are notoriously cloistered and try to isolate themselves from outside influences. Our being in the neighborhood was no exception to this rule.
We jumped out of our car and a guy stopped stared at us, started twirling his beard, and has now been following us down the road for the last 10 minutes or so. We pulled out the camera and he just launched himself at the cameraman. It's clearly a sensitive community.
We managed to make our way to meet Yolish Kraus, the unofficial operations director for the Eidah Haridi, one of the most vocal and radical factions of the Haredi community who refuse to recognize the authority of the state and are taking action against the new laws.
זה שאסור ללכת לצבא גם אם הוא כן לומד או לא לומד. טוענים שבגיוס, לדוגמה, הם לא רוצים באמת, לא צריכים את החיילים. הם רוצים לגייס את החרדים כדי שלא יישאר חרדים. מי שהולך לצבא, בסוף לאט לאט הוא מדרדר, הוא נהיה חילוני. יש בינתיים שתי בנים שהם בגיל הגיוס, שתיהם קיבלו צו גיוס, והם לא ישנים בבית כבר... אחת לא ישן בבית כבר שנה וחצי, ואחת חצי שנה לא בבית. אני נלחם, לא בשבילי. אני לא אלך, הילדים שלי לא ילכו לצבא. אנחנו לא ישראלים, אנחנו יהודים. אין לנו שום קשר למדינת ישראל. אנחנו עם ישראל.
I don't even have to say much, man. I really don't have to say. I can say a whole lot, but I don't really want to say too much.
מדינת ישראל ועם ישראל זה שתי דברים. אנחנו במתקפה כל הזמן, לא רק בגלל הגיוס. בזמן האחרון זה מאבק מי ישלוט. אני טוען שבסוף החילונים יפסידו במאבק. עולם זה רכבת שדוהרת לתהום. זאת אומרת, זה יורד. עכשיו, אנחנו גם ברכבת הזאת, רק אנחנו נזהרים להיות בקרון האחרון.
It's 10 years ago.
דוהרת לתהום. זאת אומרת, זה יורד. עכשיו, אנחנו גם ברכבת הזאת, רק אנחנו נזהרים להיות בקרון האחרון. זה מודעות של 15 שנים האחרונות, שכל סוגי הרבנים, ספרדים, אשכנזים.
We're all on the train. We're just in the last car. Damn, Skippy. Yeah, I'm not. We might all be on the right, but I'm trying. Ooh, I ain't going head first, but
ליטאים, חסידים, כל סוגי הרבנים שאמרו שאסור ללכת לצבא.
The Haredim, who practice strict observation of Judaic law, which requires the separation of sexes, keeping kosher, and shunning most modern technology, are at odds with secular society. Above all for them is preserving the study of the Torah. We spoke to Jonathan Rosenblum, an expert in Torah study, to see if he could shed some light on the conflict.
We are a small community in a modern world which is not generally hospitable to religion. The yeshivas are not just another institution in the society. They are the pupil of the eye of the Haredi world and are guarded as such.
For the ultra-Orthodox, the Torah is the organizing value of the entire society.
I grew up right across the street from one of these, which are already dope. And I thought I was like, how come we don't have one of these? Like I want to go learn. I'll be sitting here looking up dinosaur bones and where Ohio is in relative to Nebraska. Like what, man? And some weather stuff about rain and other clouds and electromagnetisms that I would still have to go learn it again because I don't what. Huh? But this stays with you. You learn this stays with you to go and learn other stuff. And like just to have your head on right to maneuver through life, like.
Without it, they cease to exist. So the idea of the Haredi boys being drafted out of yeshiva into the secular world of the military is seen as a distraction at best and a corrupting force at worst. Though the community has ordered its boys to refuse enlistment, some of them have already found their way into the IDF, joining the Netzah Yehuda.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not like they're not prohibiting them from joining the army. They're just saying you can't force us to join the army. But then also, I guess some of the rabbis banned them from joining the army. But then, as a person, you go, okay, I'm still gonna go. Nothing stopping you from doing nothing. Joining and being forced to join are two separate things.
Battalion, created by a band of Haredi rabbis in the IDF in 1999 to integrate Haredi outliers into the military.
The relationship between the military and the Haredi community in specific frameworks and very worked out and planned environments can certainly be a win-win situation both for the army, for the state of Israel, and for the Haredi community. What's called the Nachal Haredi or Netzach Yehuda Brigade, that's mostly made up of boys who come from Haredi homes who have really fallen outside of the system prior to going into the army. Many of these young men were in very deep trouble, alienated and so forth. When they find the self-respect and the discipline that they get in the army, they have a much better chance of coming back to full religious observance.
So, from those
Basically, the troublemakers who weren't really focusing on their studies get their hands in the dirt a little bit. See the harsh realities of war. War might come back to those books.
who stray from the righteous path, the Netzah Yehuda seemed like an ideal alternative. The IDF was keen to show us just how ideal by taking us to meet the battalion.
That's a 10-year-old video.
There seemed to be a balance struck between military service and religious observance. After prayers, one of the allowances the IDF makes for the Haredi boys, the soldiers began a drill to clear and overtake enemy territory.
Right now, we're taking that hilltop after heavy artillery fire has just cleared it.
We've taken this hill, and now we're going to take...
Lines, even having a kosher cafeteria, the boys seemed to agree that some compromises had to be made.
אתם היום הלכתם, עמלתם, הזעתם, התעייפתם. עכשיו אנחנו הולכים ביחד. מחר נעצרת גדודית כגדוד אחד, כמקשה אחת, ואנחנו הולכים ועולים. שיהיה לכולנו בהצלחה, תאכלו, תהנו, ואל תשכחו את אישורי הזקן. בהצלחה.
I just wanted to know if you've had to make compromises with your religious life in order to fit in with the army.
אני חושב שחד משמעי זה לא אותו דבר כמו ישיבה, וזה מטבע הדברים לא יהיה ולא דומה לישיבה, אבל סוג של ירידה שצריך לעשות, מי שרוצה בעצם לשרת את המדינה ולהגן על התושבים.
For these soldiers, serving the country comes at a price, and although they are willing to make that sacrifice, they know that the core of the Haredi community wouldn't agree.
And what have been your reactions when you saw, the ultra-Orthodox riots?
אני לא יכול להתווכח עם אידיאולוגיה, אני יכול להבין את הגישה הזאת. אני לא מנסה פה לשכנע או לא לשכנע מישהו. אני עשיתי את מה שמתאים לי. חברה שבה אני הייתי חי זה נחשב צד יחסית חריג. זה היה קצת קשה בהתחלה מבחינת המשפחה, אבל בסוף למדו לחיות עם זה.
Can you explain to me why it wouldn't be easy for your family?
התרבות החרדית והתרבות הישראלית החילונית, בוא נאמר, זה שני עולמות שונים. התרבות החרדית היא תרבות שהאמונה שלה באלוקים זה מעל הכל. הם בשביל זה מוכנים להקריב הכל.
Recently, they've gone so far as to turn on their own. More and more documented cases have appeared of ultra-Orthodox community attacking Haredi soldiers. It's clear that the hardline Haredim will do anything to keep their sons out of the IDF. But as instability along Israel's borders increases, the IDF's need for more soldiers is only growing. And with the ultra-Orthodox community projected to represent almost 25% of Israel's total population by the late 2050s, it's unlikely that the IDF will back down. The government is moving forward with a new conscription law, setting yearly goals for Haredi enlistment with a benchmark of at least 5,200 new recruits by 2017. If that target is not reached, the softer goals will become mandates, backed up with criminal sanctions for draft dodgers.
Gee! And then 3 years ago, if Ice been on it, boy, they'd be out there.
States. They say Israel is upping its efforts to redraw the borders of the city, but Israel claims it belongs to them, despite the United Nations saying it's an occupation, illegal under international law.
The Israeli police have been arresting loads of Palestinian children. Palestinians are retaliating because
صار كانوا واقفين شباب وصبايا فلسطينيين وهجم عليهم نزلهم بالعصاي. شوف العصاي اللي بايده. سرقين، هدول سرقين حراميه. انا وياهم بنفس البيت.
هم ببيتك؟
هم ببيتي. تعي شوفي. هذا البيت اللي اخذته ستي لانها لاجئه تهجرت بال48 من حيفا. هذا البيت
هذه
بابا تمنعوني انا كفلسطينيه اسكن.
Then I'm telling you, man, I'm tuned in. I'm tuned in a little bit. I'm a little tuned in, man. I'm kind of tuned in just a little bit. But I'm a bumper clock get out of here because I can't get too far, boba. I gotta get my day going. It can get too heavy. But yeah, you get the point ski. Can we help trauma from gang violence and police? All right, let's check that out. Compensate. Catch y'all on the next one.